Admiral Tae-sung Kim stood tall on the bridge of his ship, the Starlight Defender. Through the large window, he watched the stars. His face was tired. 20 years of war had left deep lines on his once smooth skin. "Admiral, we lost the Orion system," said Commander Jiwoo Park. Her voice was quiet but clear in the silent room. Tae-sung closed his eyes. Another system gone. The third this week. The war against the Void Scourge was going badly. "How many ships did we lose?" he asked. 4 battleships, 12 cruisers, and about 30 smaller craft," Jiwoo replied. "Over 6,000 crew members." Around them, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. Everyone knew what these losses meant. The Galactic Confederation, once the greatest power in the Milky Way, was losing the war. Tae-sung walked to the main screen. It showed a map of the galaxy. Red areas marked where the Void Scourge now ruled. Almost a third of the map was red. "They adapt too quickly," he said. "Every time we find a way to hurt them, they change and become stronger." The Void Scourge were unlike any enemy the Confederation had faced before. They weren't a race, but a hive mind that controlled millions of bioships. These ships could heal themselves. Their weapons changed to beat any defense, and there seemed to be no end to their numbers. "Sir," said Jiwoo, "the Council wants to speak with you." Tae-sung nodded. He straightened his blue uniform and touched the communication panel. The faces of 7 council members appeared on the screen. They were the leaders of the oldest and most powerful races in the Confederation. "Admiral Kim," said High Counselor Vexus, a tall being with crystal-like skin, "report on the Orion system." "It is lost, High Counselor," Tae-sung said simply. "The Scourge has taken control of all 5 planets." Angry voices filled the room as the council members spoke over each other. Tae-sung waited for them to quiet down. "This cannot continue," said Counselor Draws, who looked like a large, intelligent insect. "At this rate, we will lose the war within 2 years." "I agree," Tae-sung said, "which is why I again suggest my proposal." The council members grew quiet. They knew what he meant. "We have discussed this, Admiral," said Vexus. "Humans are too unpredictable, too violent, too primitive." "With respect, High Counselor," Tae-sung replied, "those are exactly the qualities we need right now." Humans were the newest members of the Confederation. They had been discovered only 50 Earth years ago. They had just one colony world beyond their home planet. Their ships were slow. Their weapons were simple. Most races in the Confederation saw them as barely worth notice. But Tae-sung had studied them. He had seen something in humans that the other races missed. "The Void Scourge beats us because they can predict what we will do," he explained. "Our tactics are based on logic and optimal strategies. But humans don't think that way. They use, what do they call it? Gut feeling. They take risks no logical being would take." "Exactly why they cannot be trusted," said Counselor Lan, whose body was made of living metal. Tae-sung shook his head. "No, it's why we need them. The Scourge cannot predict what they cannot understand, and they cannot understand human thinking." He touched another button, and a new image appeared. It showed a small battle from 2 years ago. A single human ship, damaged and outgunned, had somehow destroyed 3 Scourge vessels. "This human captain did something no Confederation commander would ever do," Tae-sung said. "She flew her damaged ship directly at the enemy, making them think she was attempting to crash into them. The Scourge moved to avoid the collision, but instead of hitting them, she released all her ship's power cells and jumped to light speed, leaving the power cells behind. The resulting explosion destroyed all 3 enemy ships." "A suicide run that wasn't actually a suicide run," whispered Counselor Draz. "Clever." "The point is," Tae-sung continued, "the Scourge expected her to either retreat or die fighting. They could not imagine a third option." The council members looked at each other, silent for a long moment. "What exactly are you proposing, Admiral?" asked Vexus finally. "Let me take a small fleet to Earth. Let me recruit humans for a special combat unit. Give me 6 months to train them in our technology. Then let them fight the way only humans can fight." The silence stretched on. Then, one by one, the council members nodded. "Very well, Admiral Kim," said Vexus. "You have your mission, but remember, if the humans fail—" "They won't," Tae-sung said firmly. "I believe in them." As the screen went dark, Tae-sung turned to Jiwoo. "Set course for Earth," he ordered, "and prepare all the information we have on their military leaders and combat experts." "Yes, Admiral," she replied. "Do you really think humans can turn this war around?" Tae-sung looked once more at the galactic map, at all the red showing Scourge territory. "I think, Commander, that we're about to surprise the entire galaxy." Captain Soo-min Choi had never seen an alien before today. Now she was in a room full of them. She stood straight in her Earth Defense Force uniform, trying not to stare at the strange beings around her. Some looked almost human. Others were very different, made of crystal, metal, or shapes that made no sense to her human mind. "These are the best Earth has to offer?" asked a tall alien with blue skin. His voice sounded doubtful. Admiral Tae-sung Kim nodded. "Yes, High Counselor Vexus. Captain Choi and her team were chosen from thousands of candidates." Soo-min looked at her 3 team members standing beside her. Lieutenant Hana Lee was their combat expert. She had won fighting competitions all over Earth. Sergeant Do-yun Kang could fix any machine, often making it work better than before. And Ensign Junho Yoon knew more about science than anyone Soo-min had ever met. They were the best. But in this room, surrounded by beings from advanced worlds, they felt small. "Captain Choi," said Vexus, "do you understand why you are here?" "Yes, sir," she replied. "Your Confederation is losing a war. You need new ideas to win." A sound like laughter came from one of the aliens. "And you think humans have these ideas?" Soo-min took a deep breath. "We won't know until we try. But humans are good at finding ways to win when the odds are against us." "Show them," Admiral Kim said quietly. Soo-min nodded to Hana, who stepped forward and touched a control pad. A large screen lit up, showing battle records from the war against the Void Scourge. "We've studied your battles," Hana said. "You fight." "Too perfectly." The alien council members looked confused. "Too perfectly?" asked one who looked like a large insect. "How can perfection be a problem?" "Because your enemy has learned to predict perfect," Do-hyun explained. "You always make the most logical choice, the best move according to your battle computers." "And that's exactly what the Void Scourge expects," added Junho. "They've studied your patterns. They know what you'll do before you do it." Soo-min stepped forward again. "Humans are different. We don't always make the logical choice. Sometimes we take big risks. Sometimes we do things that don't make sense at first." She waved. Her hand and the screen changed to show a chess game. "This is a human game called chess. For many years, humans were the best players. Then we built computers that could beat any human. They always made the perfect move." "So the computers were better," said Vexus. "No," Soo-min replied, "because then we tried something new. We paired humans with computers. The human would sometimes override the computer's perfect move to make a surprising one. And these human-computer teams could beat the solo computers. Because the unpredictable move confused the opponent's calculations," Admiral Kim added. "Exactly," said Soo-min. "We want to do the same thing with your fleet. Use your advanced technology, but add human unpredictability." The council members looked at each other. Some seemed interested, others doubtful. "What exactly do you propose?" asked Vexus. Junho stepped forward with a small device. "First, We've studied the Void Scourge communication system. They use a hive mind, right? All connected? The council nodded. We've designed a disruptor that sends random signals to confuse their connection, he explained. Not to break it completely, that would be too obvious and they'd adapt, but to make small errors that add up. Like putting a pebble in someone's shoe, Hana added. Small but very distracting. Do-hyun showed them another device. And we've modified your shield technology. Instead of a steady, even shield, ours flickers randomly between frequencies. The Scourge won't know which weapon will work from one moment to the next. The council looked surprised now. One of them, a being made of what looked like living metal, spoke up. You've done all this in the 2 weeks since Admiral Kim recruited you? Yes, said Soo-min. Humans work fast when we need to. Admiral Kim smiled slightly. The question, High Council, is will you let them try their ideas? Will you give them a ship and a chance to prove what humans can do? There was silence in the room as the council members thought. Finally, Vexus spoke. Very well. Captain Choi and her team will be given command of the scout vessel Stardancer. It's small but fast, with our latest technology. You will patrol the edge of the Centauri sector. If the Void Scourge attacks there, you may test your unusual methods. Just one small ship? Admiral Kim asked, frowning. One ship is all we can risk on an untested idea, Vexus replied. If they show promise, then we can discuss expanding their role. Soo-min stepped forward and gave a perfect military bow. Thank you, High Council. We won't let you down. As they left the council chamber, Hana whispered to Soo-min. One small ship against those monsters? They're setting us up to fail. Soo-min smiled. Then we'll just have to surprise them. That's what humans do best. She looked at her team. They were nervous but determined. They represented not just themselves, but all of humanity. The Void Scourge thinks it knows everything about how the Confederation fights, she said. But it's never faced humans before. Let's show the galaxy what we can do. The Stardancer was small compared to most Confederation ships, but to Soo-min and her team, it was amazing. The ship could travel faster than light. It had weapons that could hit targets millions of miles away. And now, it had human upgrades. Are you sure this will work? Asked the ship's alien engineer. His name was Torvik, and he had 4 arms and green skin. Do-hyun was under a control panel, connecting wires to their shield modifier. No, I'm not sure, he said honestly, but that's the point. The Void Scourge won't be sure either. It had been 3 weeks since the council meeting. The human team had spent every waking hour preparing their ship and training the alien crew to think more like humans. Soo-min stood on the bridge, looking at the star map. The Centauri sector was quiet right now. Too quiet. They're coming, said Hana, who stood beside her. I can feel it. How can you feel an enemy fleet? Asked the ship's second officer, a tall alien named Zarl. Hana smiled. Human instinct. Sometimes we just know things. Soo-min wasn't so sure, but she trusted Hana's combat experience. Double the patrols, she ordered, and run Junho's new sensor program. The program was another human idea. Instead of looking for Void Scourge ships directly, it looked for what? Wasn't there? Unusual gaps in space dust or radiation that might show something hiding. An hour later, the alarm sounded. Captain, called the sensor officer. 3 Void Scourge ships detected. They're heading for the colony on Proxima B. Soo-min felt her heart beat faster. This was it. Their chance to prove what humans could do. Send a warning to the colony, she ordered. Then contact Confederation Command. Tell them we're engaging the enemy. Engaging? Zero looked shocked. Captain, there are only 3 of them now, but there will be more. We should wait for backup. If we wait, the colony might be lost, Soo-min said. Besides, we don't need to beat them all. We just need to show that our methods work. She turned to her team. Ready? They nodded. Then let's go to work. The Star Dancer moved toward the enemy ships. They were ugly things, part machine, part living creature, with shapes that hurt the eyes to look at. "They've seen us," reported the sensor officer. "They're changing course to attack." "Perfect," said Sumin. "Hana, start Operation Confusion." Hana grinned and began entering commands. The Star Dancer suddenly cut all power, drifting like a dead ship. "What are you doing?" Zarel asked, alarmed. "Making them curious," Hana explained. "They think we've had a power failure. They'll come closer to look." And they did. The 3 Scourge ships moved toward them slowly, cautiously. "Now, Do-Yun," Sumin ordered. Do-Hyun activated his shield modification. The Star Dancer's shields came on, but they flickered and changed in strange patterns. "Junho, launch the disruptors," Sumin said. Junho pressed a button, and hundreds of tiny drones shot out from the ship. They flew toward the Scourge vessels, attaching to their hulls. "Full power to engines and weapons," Sumin commanded. "Let's hit them while they're confused." The Star Dancer came to life, its engines flaring bright. The Void Scourge ships seemed to hesitate, something no one had ever seen before. "They can't understand what we're doing," Sumin said with satisfaction. "Junho's drones are disrupting their hive mind connection, and Do-Hyun's shields don't make sense to them." The Star Dancer fired its weapons. Normally, the Scourge would adapt quickly to the attack, but now, with the disruption affecting them, they couldn't coordinate their defenses. One of the Scourge ships exploded as the Star Dancer's energy beams hit it in just the right spot. "It worked!" shouted Do-Yun. "One down!" The other 2 Scourge ships started to retreat, but Sumin wasn't finished yet. "Follow them," she ordered. "Hana, prepare the light bomb." The light bomb was another human invention, a device that created a flash so bright it would overload the Scourge's sensitive visual systems. As the Star Dancer pursued the retreating ships, 5 more Scourge vessels appeared from behind a moon. "It's a trap," Zarel said. "Captain, we must retreat now." But Sumin was smiling. "No, this is even better. Hana, launch the light bomb. Do-Yun, prepare for tight beam shield projection." The light bomb flew from the Star Dancer toward the group of Scourge ships. When it exploded, there was no sound in space, but the flash was blinding. At the same moment, Do-Hyun directed all shield power into a narrow beam, creating a path through the confused enemy ships. "Full speed ahead," Sumin ordered. The Star Dancer shot forward, straight through the middle of the enemy formation. As they passed, Junho launched more disruptor drones. "Fire all weapons! Spread pattern!" Hana called out. The ship's weapons fired in all directions, hitting the blinded and confused Scourge ships. 2 more exploded. The remaining Void Scourge vessels began to fire wildly, but the Star Dancer's flickering shields absorbed the hits. "We can't keep this up forever," Do-Hyun warned. "Shields at 40%. "We don't need to," Sumin replied. "Look." In the distance, a fleet of Confederation ships appeared, responding to their call for backup. As the Star Dancer circled back toward the Confederation fleet, the crew cheered. They had faced 8 Void Scourge ships and destroyed 3 of them, without taking major damage. When they docked with the Confederation command ship, Admiral Kim was waiting for them. "Well done, Captain Choi," he said, his eyes bright with pride. "The Council has been watching your battle. They're impressed." Sumin stood with her team, tired but happy. "Tell them this is just the beginning. Now we need to teach these tactics to the whole fleet." Admiral Kim nodded. "That's exactly what they want. The Human Combat Integration Program begins tomorrow. You and your team will lead it." As they walked through the ship, alien crew members looked at the humans with new respect. "I guess they don't think we're primitive anymore," Hana said with a smile. "No," Sumin agreed. "Now we just need to show them what humans can really do when we get serious." 6 months had passed since the battle at Proxima B. 6 months of humans teaching aliens how to think unpredictably. 6 months of spreading human combat tactics throughout the Confederation fleet. Admiral Taesung Kim stood on the bridge of the Confederation flagship Eternal Light. Beside him was Captain Soo-min Choi, now a key advisor to the war effort. "Are they ready?" he asked. Soo-min looked at the display. 10,000 ships waited for their orders. Each ship now had human officers aboard. Each was equipped with the technology her team had created. "They're ready," she said. "The question is, are we sure about this plan?" The plan was the biggest gamble yet. For the first time, they had found the location of the Void Scourge mothership, the heart of the hive mind. Normally, it stayed hidden deep in Scourge territory, but Junho's improved sensors had finally spotted it. "No, I'm not sure," Taesung admitted. "It's extremely risky. That's why I like it." Soo-min smiled. The Admiral had learned to think more like a human. "Then let's begin Operation Endgame," she said. The plan had 3 parts. First, the main Confederation fleet would pretend to retreat, giving up key systems to draw out the Scourge forces. Second, while the enemy was distracted, a small team, led by Hana and Do-hyun, would sneak behind enemy lines. Finally, Junho had created a powerful neural disruptor that could break the entire Scourge hive mind, but it had to be delivered directly to the mothership. "Send the order," Taesung commanded. "Begin the retreat." Across the galaxy, Confederation forces pulled back from their positions. To the Void Scourge, it looked like they were giving up. "The Scourge ships are pursuing," reported the sensor. "Officer." "They think we're running away." "Good," said Soo-min. "Now for Phase 2. She touched her communicator. "Hana, Do-hyun, are you ready?" "Ready, Captain," came Hana's voice. "Stealth systems active. They don't see us." Hana and Do-hyun were aboard the Shadow Dancer, a small ship with special cloaking technology. With them were 20 volunteers, the bravest fighters from across the Confederation. "Remember," Soo-min said, "you only get one chance to plant the disruptor." "We know," Do-hyun replied. "Don't worry, no one expects humans to succeed. That's our advantage." As the main fleet continued its retreat, drawing more and more Scourge ships away from their territory, the Shadow Dancer slipped deeper into enemy space. "They've reached the outer defenses of the mothership," reported the communications officer. Soo-min and Taesung watched the small dot on their display that represented the Shadow Dancer. It moved slowly toward the massive Scourge mothership, a creature-machine hybrid the size of a small moon. "Now for the hard part," Soo-min whispered. On the Shadow Dancer, Hana looked at her team. "Final check on equipment," she ordered. "The neural disruptor must be placed directly on the central nerve cluster." Do-hyun finished checking the device, a silver sphere that contained Junho's most brilliant creation. "It's ready," he said. "Once activated, we have 5 minutes to get away before it triggers." "And if we can't get away?" asked one of the alien volunteers. Do-hyun smiled grimly. "Then we die, knowing we saved the galaxy," the Shadow Dancer attached itself to the outer skin of the mothership. Using cutting tools, they created an opening and entered the nightmare interior, a maze of flesh and metal. "Move quietly," Hana whispered, though the Scourge had no ears to hear them. "Follow the signal." The signal came from Junho's scanner, which detected the center of the hive mind's neural network. They moved deeper into the mothership, passing strange organs and machinery that no one understood. "There," Do-hyun said at last, pointing to a pulsing mass of glowing tissue. "That's the central nerve cluster." As they approached, suddenly alarms sounded throughout the mothership. They had been detected. "Hurry!" Hana shouted, as strange creatures began to appear from the walls. "Place the disruptor!" Do-hyun ran forward, fighting off the creatures with his energy weapon. He reached the nerve cluster and attached the disruptor to it. "It's done!" he shouted. 5 minutes until activation." "Back to the ship," Hana ordered. They fought their way back, but the ship's entrance was now blocked by Scourge defenders. "We need another way out," Hana said. Do-hyun looked at his scanner. "There," He pointed to a thin area in the mothership's outer wall. We can cut through there. Meanwhile, on the Eternal Light, Su-min watched the timer counting down. 3 minutes until the disruptor activates, she reported. No sign of the shadow dancer leaving. Tae-sung's face was grim. They may not make it out. They knew the risk, Su-min said quietly. Phase 3 is ready. All ships are in position for the final attack. 2 minutes later, a small signal appeared. On their screen! The shadow dancer! Exclaimed the sensor officer. They made it out! Get them to safety, Tae-sung ordered, and prepare all ships for attack. Seconds later, the neural disruptor activated. Across the battlefield, Void Scourge ships suddenly stopped moving. Some began to drift aimlessly. Others fired weapons at random. Now, Tae-sung commanded. All ships attack. The Confederation fleet surged forward, no longer retreating. They fired on the confused Scourge vessels, which couldn't coordinate their defenses. The battle was fierce, but one-sided. Without their hive-mind connection, the Scourge couldn't adapt or work together. When Natya, the shadow dancer, finally docked with the Eternal Light, Hana and Do-hyun were greeted as heroes. They had lost 5 of their team, but the mission had succeeded. We've won this battle, Tae-sung told them. But there are still Scourge ships out there. The war isn't over yet. No, agreed Su-min. But for the first time, we know we can win. 3 weeks later, the Confederation Council held a special ceremony. The human team stood before them once again, but this time, there was no doubt or disrespect in the aliens' eyes. Captain Su-min Choi, announced High Counselor Vexus, in recognition of humanity's vital contribution to the war effort, Earth is hereby granted full membership status in the Confederation. Furthermore, a new human tactical division will be established to train our forces. As cheers filled the chamber, Su-min looked at her team with pride. We did it, she said. We showed them what humans can do. What happens now? Asked Junho. Su-min smiled. Now we help build a better galaxy, one where logic and intuition, planning and improvisation work together. The Void Scourge won't be the last threat we face, but next time, we'll be ready. Together, added Do-hyun. Together, Su-min agreed. Human and alien, the best of both.